All right, ladies and gentlemen, join us for our continuing series titled The Atheist Experience Show is a Scam. Now, the Atheist Experience Show does not know American history. They make some mistakes here. I'm going to point out the mistakes. One mistake that they start off with is I don't know if the Atheist Experience Show is lonely. They're looking for a date. Notice this person here named Fish Stark. It says he, him. Why do we need to know that? The only reason you would do that is if you're looking for a date. Why are atheists so lonesome? Why are they lonesome? You're going to be shocked with the mistake that the Atheist Experience Show says right now. So buckle up. This is going to be funny. Here we go.
Sing me a song, you're a singer. Do me wrong, you're a bringer of evil. The devil is never a maker. Unless that you give, you're a taker. It goes on and on and on. It's in and out.
All right. The atheist's going to start talking, and they're going to be talking about Thomas Paine and Thomas Jefferson. And they're going to make them out to like as if these guys were atheists or something. And then I'm going to read you actual quotes of Thomas Paine and Jefferson. These guys believed in God. So either the Atheist Experience Show is flat out lying or they're ignorant about what they're talking about. Let's go. Listen to this.
Thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge when
I've
it's
actually
properly
been
garnished.
to the right. I've
They're going to just talk for about 10 seconds and then they get to the point.
actually been to the Creation Museum, and they have like the tree, they have a representation of it, and it looks like a dragon fruit. It's so crazy to see. They got this dragon looking snake wrapped around a dragon fruit, and inside the dragon fruit are these like seeds that looks like little capsules, and it looks like little Tylenol pills, the gel caps. And that's apparently what's stored in dragon fruit according to the Creation Museum.
Wow, that makes the whole thing make a lot more sense. If I told somebody not to eat that fruit and they ate it, I'd be like, wow, you are pretty stupid.
Okay, so here we go. So now he's going to,
That does not.
this guy here, Fish, he goes by his name, Fish.
But
Well, something's
no.
something's very fishy with what he's saying. Let's just say that. So watch what he says, and he makes a big fat mistake, and I'm going to point out the mistake for you.
It does not. Now, so we were talking. Sorry, I got distracted and everything. So we were talking about the Ten Commandments in schools. A lot of people think that it's going to do something, and they're I guess do something for the students, or like the students need to be reminded of it and everything. My criticism, of course, is like, what does this say? Well, for one thing, we've got the first three commandments, like you pointed out, like, have no other gods before me and everything like that. They want to try to paint that as being like non-religious. I don't know. Is it just me, or is that like really bullshit?
Now, here's the thing. There's a myth that you can't talk about religion and government or schools. I've never bought into that myth. But a public school, you can talk about religion all you want. You could say prayers at graduation. In government, we just had our President Trump reading from the Bible. And we had Marco Rubio reading from the Bible as they took turns reading from the Bible. And this is our government doing it. Now, what the atheists want, but they're not doing a good job with it, is they want secularism. And let's make no mistake about it. What do the Christians want? They want Christianity. Every Christian must be a Christian nationalist. Now, the Atheist Experience show is going to say something. They don't like Christian nationalism. But Jesus said, go out into all the world and preach the gospel. And Jesus, when they asked Jesus, like, how should we pray? And he said to pray for God's kingdom here on earth. I know this is not an atheist secular belief, but who cares about atheism? They're insane. It's madness. It's retarded. So I really don't care if atheists are offended that we want Christian nationalism in society. And it's going to happen. If you're a Christian, this is what Jesus said. In fact, Jesus wanted Christian nationalism to the extreme. He wants Christian globalism. And Jesus said that he wants God's will to be done on the whole earth as it is in heaven. So every Christian, of course, is not just a Christian nationalist. We're a Christian globalist. But let's get back to this. And I'm going to point out the mistakes that Fish makes here. Let's just say it's very fishy what he's saying.
You know, I don't know how I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt have no other gods before me could ever be construed as non-religious.
I swear I'm not going to talk for a long time here. Let me make it real quick because I hate when people keep stopping the video. Let me just say something real quick. It doesn't matter if it's religious, Atheist Experience show. You guys should know this. We just saw that in Texas, the 10 Commandments are allowed to be posted and no one's being harmed by it. It's okay to honor your mother and father. It's okay not to murder. It doesn't matter if it's religious. See, there is no clause in the Constitution or Declaration that says that a public school cannot post the 10 Commandments. In fact, it says the opposite. Congress shall make no law prohibiting the free exercise of religion. And of course, Congress is not to make one religion like the official religion. So this is great. Let's get back with this because I promise you. So it doesn't matter. Mistake number one they make is that they say that, oh, but it's religious. It doesn't matter if it's religious. There's religion in government. There's religion in public schools. You don't have to divorce your religion once you enter a public school or government office. Here we go.
I think, you know, they're leaning in on this defense that says the 10 Commandments it's not a religious document, it's a historical document because the founders all believed in the 10 Commandments. No, the fuck they didn't. Like, you've got Thomas Paine and Thomas Jefferson. You've got these old, like, deist Unitarian Universalists who I guarantee you 100% straight up and down did not believe in the 10 Commandments because they very clearly did not believe in an interventionist God.
Now, he's actually wrong there. They did believe in an interventionist God. So let's point out his error, okay? Well, let him finish what he's going to say if he's got anything else to say. But I'm going to point out his error. He mentioned Thomas Paine and he mentioned Jefferson. Both of them believed in God. So I'm going to point out to you what Paine believed and what Jefferson believed. They weren't atheists.
Right? So if you're going to say the founding fathers believed in these things and these are the foundations of American society, you should be able to show that the guy who wrote the Common Sense pamphlet and the guy who wrote the goddamn Declaration of Independence actually incorporated this into the way that they were thinking. I don't deny that there were Christians at the founding like George Washington, although George Washington famously warned about the dangers of religious states despite being religious himself. But my God, if you're going to make some...
My God? He slipped up there. So he's proving that the book of Romans is true. You know, in Romans it says the atheists do believe in God, but they suppress the truth in their unrighteousness.
Kind of craven historical argument to force your religion on kids, at least do us the courtesy of being right. It's just such a profoundly stupid exercise to try and pretend that the founding fathers sat down and challenged a state religion with a king who is said to be divinely ordained, with this idea of consent of the governed, which says morality comes from the people, and have people be like, oh no, but what they really wanted was for government bureaucrats to decide what religion your child should be.
No, there's nothing that says that in the founding documents. This guy is like full of it. So let me show you some errors that he makes. So, first of all, Thomas Paine, okay? Look at what, um, let me go back to this here. This was like amazing. Um, let's read about Thomas Paine real quick. This is very educating. It's going to blow your mind. One aim Paine had in mind in writing his Age of Reason, you sit down, Atheist Experience show, you're not going to like this, was to recall the French people to a basic belief in the deity. He's, he wrote this to get people to follow God and thereby to overcome the influence of what? Of atheism. It's the complete opposite. He was Thomas Paine would agree more with me than he would the Atheist Experience show. In 1797, in this address before the Paris Society of Theophilanthropists, an organization denying the divine origin of the Bible, but accepting the existence of God and a future state, who's he? Thomas Paine, assailed the atheistic concept of a universe which came into being without the aid of an efficient agent. If this guy's an atheist, he's one weird atheist because he's saying that God did step in and create the universe. Since the cosmos consisted of matter, he said, which did not possess the property of motion, Paine argued the rotation of the planets would be impossible without the assistance of an external cause. Paine maintained that the prevalence of atheism was due, get this, to the introduction of Orthodox religion, which created atheists by its persecutions. Sort of like Islam, for example. Islam is all about, persecuting. Jesus was not persecuting people, he was healing people. But notice this, once persecution was ended, atheism would disappear. This is what he wanted. He said religion has two principal enemies, fanaticism and infidelity, or that which is called atheism. The first requires to be combated by reason and morality, the other by natural philosophy. So there's no way that Thomas Paine was pro-atheist. He was pro-God. Thomas Paine's open call. Now we're going to be brutally honest. Let's show you the worst of Thomas Paine, and I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm not going to hide any truth from you. Let's just look at the truth. And then, we're not going to spend a lot of time on Thomas Paine because he wasn't really. Well, I'll show you on the next page. Like he's. I want to show you someone that's more deistic, like Benjamin Franklin. Thomas Paine obviously believed in God, right? And he believed that God created the universe. But notice, let's see, I wanted to read you something. Thomas Paine's words were instrumental to the success of the revolution. And look at this. His famous pamphlet, Common Sense, predated the Declaration of Independence and laid out the argument for a break with Great Britain. Let's see what else. There was something else here. Oh, here it is right here. It's been said without the pen of Paine, the sword of Washington would have been wielded in vain. Now, listen what Paine had written. He's talking about God here. In England, a king hath little more to do than to make war. Remember, he didn't like England. And give away places, which in plain terms is to impoverish the nation and set it together by the ears. A pretty business indeed for a man to be allowed 800,000 sterling a year for and worshipped into the bargain! Exclamation point. Now look who he says is more honest and more valuable to society. Of more worth is one honest man to society, and in the sight of who? God, than all the crowned ruffians that ever lived. So, Atheist Experience Show, you guys do not know what a deist is. A deist is not an atheist. Deists believe in God as the creator of the universe. Notice, they believe in a creator, but they believe that God stepped in, created, and then does not intervene in the world after creation. This is a weird sort of atheism if they want to say that Thomas Paine was an atheist. We read this too already, so now watch this. Thomas Paine significantly contributed to the drafting of the Declaration of Independence. Well, where does the Declaration of Independence say that our rights come from? I'm going to show you what Thomas Paine contributed to the Declaration of Independence. And we're also going to talk about Jefferson. Jefferson was more of a major player. He was the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Now, 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. 54 were Christians. All of them believed in God. There were no atheists at all. All of them agreed, listen closely, Atheist Experience Show, that our rights come from God. They all believe that God created humans. You guys at the Atheist Experience Show believe a rock gave birth to all mankind. Speaking of rocks, I want to show you something. Notice most of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence were clearly members of Christian churches. I'm going to put this link below the video. We got receipts. We got names. Look at all this. We got it. Now look at this. You know how you're saying, well, they didn't believe that God really worked within humans' lives. But look what Jefferson believed. That a God exists, that God is moral, that God is just. Look, that he judges nations. So he is involved. It's not the type of deism that the Atheist Experience Show would want you to think. Jefferson believed that God was involved with mankind. In fact, Thomas Jefferson said, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just and his justice cannot rest forever. Notice he believed that God created moral law and that a God can be appealed to. Notice, without this alleged God revealing that to us, one cannot know any of it. This form of natural religion that man can reason it on his own is purely arbitrary and unsupportable logically. So I promise you I'm going to talk to you about Benjamin Franklin, but first, let's look at what the Declaration of Independence says. If you are like high school age, you probably don't even know what the Declaration says if you go to a godless, liberal, indoctrinating, socialist, Marxist high school. So let's go up here and let's start with this. And I want you to ask yourself, does this sound more atheistic to you, or does it sound more like people that admitted God exists? When in the course of human events, we're reading up here at the top, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands, which have connected them with another. And notice, this is where it gets, the Atheist Experience Show is not going to like this. And to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which, read this with me, the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. Thomas Paine helped draft this. This is the guy that the atheist was talking about. Thomas Paine would disagree with the entire cast of the Atheist Experience show. This beautiful, epic document goes on to say, look at this. We hold these truths to be self-evident. This is powerful. In other words, there's no debate. Everyone knows it. It's self-evident that all men are created. They're what? Created equal. Well, you might say, well, they're just using the word creator, like created equal. They don't really mean there's a creator. But this is what they're saying, though. They are saying that they're endowed by their creator. This is God. This is how they start off this document. This isn't just a side thing that they throw in one time. They continue to talk about God from the top to the middle to the beginning to the end of this beautiful document. That God creates them with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, this is interesting. So what's the government's job? The government doesn't give you your rights. The government is supposed to ensure your God-given rights are not violated. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why the Atheist Experience show, listen to me, is evil in its purest form. The reason why the Atheist Experience show is evil, they want to remove this protection from you. They want to remove this ontological creator, the ontological rights that are yours because you're endowed by them. They want to remove that. They want to make it like atheistic China, where it's the most surveilled place in the world. The most amount of atheists are in China. It's almost like 80% of the people are atheists. They have slave labor there. They get an F rating with human rights. I was watching, there was a guy that was really famous, and he was an Olympic star, and they were showing how he lived, and he lived in this, here he's an Olympic star in China, and he had this little tiny refrigerator with just like milk and rice in there. And he lived in this little rotten little apartment. This is what atheism does. But let's continue. This is why it's dangerous for people to promote atheism, because it removes your God-given rights. Everyone would agree that if this Declaration of Independence wasn't here and atheists would have their way, we would probably all be murdered, because every time you get an atheist regime in power, they murder. The atheist regimes of Stalin, Pol Pot, Mao, the Khmer Rouge, Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un, and I can go on and on. They murdered over 200 million people because these rights are not protected. This is why we say, God bless America. Well, at the very end of this is going to blow your mind. They are now going to go to war with Great Britain. And you remember how they started it with God? Watch what they say here. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, read this, assembled, appealing to who? The Supreme Judge of the world. Are they talking about a king? Who are they talking about? Ladies and gentlemen, like the founder said, it is self-evident. They're talking about God. The Declaration of Independence is brilliant because it protects you and I from these evil atheists trying to take away our rights. You notice the founders started the country, and it wasn't atheistic. It was very respectful of religion and God. Why is it that the Marxist atheists want to get rid of God out of everything? Because if they can get rid of God, they can get rid of your unalienable rights. That's really what they want to do. Now, check this out. Now, before we start, real quick, um, I don't make any money from my YouTube channels or anything like that. Uh, this website, I'm not selling anything. God's blessed me in so many ways. So I don't want anything from you. I want to give you something. Of course, we want you to have the gift of salvation through Jesus Christ. But if when you go to www.shockofgod.com, you'll see that you can get the entire Bible on MP3 audio. You can learn about me. And then this right here, click this, and you can listen to our radio show. And then you can go through this chart and see where we're at in prophecy. Now, real quick, and then I'm going to show you the mistake that the Atheist Experience show makes. When you click Shock of God radio show, you're going to see all my shows here. And today we're going to be talking, I won't do the whole show, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about the mistake that the Atheist Experience show makes, because it just happens to be something that I'm very educated on. I'm fascinated with American history. In fact, the founding fathers are a really big reason why I became so fascinated with Jesus Christ, because out of 56 signers of the Declaration, 54 were Christian. And yet my godless liberal, socialist, Marxist public schools that I went to when I was a kid were teaching me something different, that they were atheist and they wanted to get away from religion. So this right here, where it says shocking words of Ben Franklin, Washington, Lincoln, and Jefferson, I'm going to be talking a little bit about this because it just happens to be the mistake that the Atheist Experience show made. So let's get back to them and let's check this out. So here we go. There's a man named Benjamin Rush. This is a picture of Thomas Jefferson, because I'm going to tell you something amazing that we have. And if you were to listen to my radio show at www.shockofgod.com, you'll learn things like this. Benjamin Rush, if you look at the Declaration of Independence where everyone signed, he was a signer of the Declaration of Independence. And we have an actual letter in our National Archives. The government has these, and you can go to the museum and see them. In a letter that Jefferson had written to his friend, Dr. Benjamin Rush, it's dated April 21st, 1803. Listen what he says, what Jefferson says. My views are the result of a life of inquiry and reflection, and very different, look at this, from the anti-Christian system that some have imputed to me by those who know nothing of my opinions. Notice he's saying he's not anti-Christian, but it gets better. It gets worse for the atheists, but it gets better for the Christians. Listen what Jefferson says in this letter. We have the letter. The atheist can't deny this. To the corruptions of Christianity, I am indeed opposed. Now, why would he be opposed to corruptions of Christianity? Because in this next sentence, he says, but not to the genuine precepts of Jesus himself. And then he says, I am a Christian in the only sense in which he wished, who? Jesus. In the only sense in which Jesus wished anyone to be, sincerely attached to his doctrines in preference to all others. Thomas Jefferson would agree with me more than the Atheist Experience show. We have another letter that Jefferson had written to Henry Fry on June 17, 1804. You guys, go to my radio show, www.shockofgod.com. This is great stuff to combat the lying atheist. This is what Jefferson said to Henry Fry. I consider the doctrines of Jesus as delivered by himself to contain, wait for it, the outlines of the sublimest system of morality that has ever been taught. But I hold in the most profound detestation and execration the corruptions of it which have been invented. So notice Jefferson saying the teachings of Jesus, his system of morality, is better than atheism. He's saying it's higher than anything else. He would disagree with the Atheist Experience show. I mean, you guys, this is just amazing, amazing stuff. But probably the most deistic person is the $100 bill guy, Benjamin Franklin. We're going to leave it with this. I'm going to tell you something, a speech that Benjamin Franklin made. It's going to blow your mind. Just, it's going to blow your mind so much that you're going to be like, I can't believe how respectful of God Benjamin Franklin is. Check this out. So I have to set the stage for you. So it was June 28th. It was a Thursday, 1787. And the Constitutional Convention was in a bitter debate. I mean, you think when the Democrats and the Republicans are fighting with each other, by the way, I am a Republican, not a democrat, you think that's bad? You haven't seen vicious debates till till you read about the debates that they had. So it's the Constitutional Convention. The debate was over how should each state be represented in the new government. So they now have the new government. They're trying to work out these details, but here's what happens. It gets hostile because the smaller states were being pitted against the larger states. And it was so bitter that some of the delegates, they're like, hey, deuces, I'm out of here. And they left the convention. Now, at this time, Benjamin Franklin, he's 81 years old. This guy, Benjamin Franklin, you always see him, remember those Schoolhouse Rock videos? They show him like flying a kite with the key on it and stuff. No, this guy, Benjamin Franklin, was an absolute genius. So before I read to you what his actual speech said, this guy, he was like the Elon Musk of his time. He was like, no offense to Elon Musk, but Benjamin Franklin, he was a mega genius. And I have a lot of respect for Elon also. But listen to all the things that Benjamin Franklin did. First of all, he was an author. He was a statesman. He was a scientist. He was a printer. He would print books. He was a diplomat to England and France. And they called him the president at the time, but that's just a name for a governor. He was the governor of Pennsylvania. He founded the University of Pennsylvania. He was a signer of the Declaration of Independence. That's right. That very religious, respectful document that talks about God and appealing to God and our rights come from God. This dude had no problem signing it and agreeing with it. He also signed the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution. He was 15th of 17 children. So he came from a large family. His dad made candles, and they weren't making enough money. Well, they had a lot of kids too. So Franklin didn't have enough to educate himself. So get this, he began an apprenticeship as a printer. That's why he probably got into printing when he was a kid at 12 years old. He became totally famous and they started calling him a literary genius because he had an annual publication. You've heard of it, Poor Richard's Almanac. Even in the almanac, he would put proverbs. This was actually in his almanac. Check this out. He would make up his kind of funny proverbs. God heals and the doctor takes the fees. He said also, God helps them that help themselves. That's not in the Bible. That's kind of like something that, people think it is, but it's a Benjamin Franklin proverb. And then he said, work as if you were to live 100 years. Pray as if you were to die tomorrow. This guy believed in God. So anyways, the ending of this that I want to tell you, I'm going to read the speech. It's a long speech, but it's amazing. Picture this, there's 55 delegates there because some of them already left. Everyone's pissed off at each other. He approaches the middle of all the delegates. He's 81 years old. So he demands respect from everyone listening. And this is what Benjamin Franklin says. Mr. President, the small progress we have made after 4 or 5 weeks, close attendance, and continual reasonings with each other, our different sentiments on almost every question, several of the last producing as many no's as A's, is methinks a melancholy proof of the imperfection of the human understanding. Right off the bat, I'm not going to elaborate a lot because it's a long speech, but it's amazing. Every word of it is dripping with gold. He basically is talking about how humans are fallen individuals. They lack human understanding, the imperfection, he says, of human beings. He goes on to say, we indeed seem to feel our own want of political wisdom. By the way, there's a surprise in this. He's going to suggest something. And when he suggests it, miraculously everyone agrees. Wait till you hear what he suggests. The Atheist Experience show, because they're evil and they're antichrist, they totally hate God, they're not going to like what I'm going to say. But if you're a Christian, you're going to like it. We indeed seem to feel our own want of political wisdom since we have been running about in search of it. We have gone back to ancient history for models of government and examined the different forms of those republics which, having been formed with the seeds of their own dissolution, no longer exist. And we have viewed modern states all around Europe, but find none of their constitutions suitable to our circumstances. In this situation of this assembly, groping as it were in the dark to find political truth and scarce able to distinguish it when presented to us, listen to this, what he says. He's saying we can't even distinguish truth when presented to us. How has it happened that we have not hitherto once thought of humbly applying to the Father of lights to illuminate our understanding? He's talking about God. And then he says, remember when we were going to war and all this other stuff, their lives were on the line. They turned to God then. He goes, but now we're not doing it. Listen to this. In the beginning of the contest with Great Britain, when we were sensible of danger, we had daily prayer in this room for divine protection. Atheist Experience show, these government officials were praying together. Atheist Experience show, you guys are full of crap. This is truth, what I'm telling you guys. What the Atheist Experience show is doing is lying to you. This is red pill stuff here. Take the red pill and believe this. Jefferson, Franklin says, we had daily prayer in this room for divine protection. Our prayers, sir, were heard, and they were graciously answered. I'm almost done. All of us who were engaged in the struggle, listen to this, must have observed frequent instances of a superintending providence in our favor. He's talking about God working within their prayers. To that kind providence, we owe this happy opportunity of consulting in peace on the means of establishing our future national felicity. And have we now, watch what he calls God, and have we now forgotten that powerful friend? Question mark. Or do we imagine we no longer need his assistance? Question mark. Remember, he's 81 years old, so he ends it like this. He goes, I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow, and he's quoting the Bible here, New Testament, Jesus talked about, he's quoting Jesus here. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it possible that an empire can rise without his aid? You guys, I love stuff like this. This is brilliant. Just think, hundreds of years ago, this is what our founders spoke of. This is how we live in this great nation, this great country we call America. And then he says, we have been, he's going to quote the Bible again. Atheist Experience Show, I thought you couldn't do this. Atheist Experience Show, you guys need to quit lying to people. You're not going to stop us from ever speaking of God. You're not going to stop us from ever promoting Christianity throughout the world. There will be Christian globalism. I guarantee it, and every knee will bow. He goes on to say, we have been assured, sir, in the sacred writings that except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. I firmly believe this. And I also believe that without his concurring aid, we shall succeed in this political building no better than the builders of Babel. We shall be divided by the way, he's quoting the Bible again, Old Testament that time. We shall be divided by our partial local interest. Our projects will be confounded, and we ourselves shall become a reproach and byword down to future ages. And this is how he ends it. 2 more paragraphs. And what is worse, mankind may hereafter from this unfortunate instance despair of establishing government by human wisdom and leave it to chance, war, and conquest. And this is the surprise I have for you. Listen what Benjamin Franklin suggests, and every single person there said aye and agreed to this. This is what he suggests. I therefore beg leave to move that henceforth prayers imploring the assistance of heaven and its blessing on our own deliberations be held in this assembly every morning before we proceed to business, and that one or more of the clergy of this city be requested to officiate in that service. Now, this is just amazing. Following Franklin's historic address, James Madison moved, because you know how you have to first agree with it and then someone else seconds it, and then seconded by Roger Sherman of Connecticut, that Dr. Franklin's appeal for prayer be enacted. Edmund Jennings Randolph of Virginia further moved that a sermon be preached at the request of the convention on the 4th of July, the anniversary of independence, and thenceforward prayers be used in the convention every morning. Ladies and gentlemen, the Atheist Experience show is evil. They're trying to take away our God-given rights. And you know what? It's America. They have the right to do that. But we have the right to stop them. And we have been doing that. God bless America. Thanks for watching. Listen to more of my radio shows at www.shockofgod.com. I ask for no money. I'm just a beggar that has found living bread. And I invite you to look into the epic words of Jesus Christ.
God bless America. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't it great to live in a country that was founded by Christians? It's so wonderful. And we're going to be taking this street legal race bike. It's actually a racing bike, and they've turned it into a street legal motorcycle. And we're going to do a very quick video. Do you know that the Declaration of Independence was signed by 56 men? All of them admitted that God exists. Did you know that? Did you know that Thomas Jefferson said, "I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, and that his justice cannot rest forever"? Do you know that George Washington said, "It behooves us to act like good Christians"? Did you know that? Do you know that the founders believed that our rights come from God, not government? God bless America. Do you know that Patrick Henry said, "It can never be emphasized too often or too strongly that this great nation was founded not by religionists but by Christians, not on religion but on the gospel of Jesus Christ"? Let's make sure the camera is going. It's going. Now, this is going to be a very quick video. I'm going to go through 5 reasons, the 5 strongest objections to why people are not atheist. As you know, very humbly speaking, as I bow my head down, I have single-handedly destroyed every single atheist on this YouTube channel. Let's go around one more time to see Old Glory. Very humbly speaking, I've done over 75 debates. You can go to Shock of God on YouTube and watch those videos of me in debate. The very last debate I did was with Steve Shives, who's here on YouTube. To his credit, he admitted that I defeated him in debate. So, we're going to go through, let's get this mic situated here. Always got to have the microphone like right up to your mouth. Do you know the highest IQ holder in the world is a Christian? You can subscribe to him. I'm going to give you out his channel in a moment. But go on YouTube and type this in. Type in try that. Type in "The Atheist Experience Show is a scam." And you'll see how I single-handedly defeated the Atheist Experience Show. I've challenged them, but they backed away from my challenge. They cowered. They evolved, they believe in evolution. They evolved into chickens. My challenge was very simple. Just answer one question. What proof and evidence can you provide that would finally at last prove that atheism is accurate and correct? But they couldn't do it. All right, let's go through. The top IQ holder is a Christian. He's a South Korean scientist. He's not an atheist. Christians hold the trophy of the most intelligent people in the world. Highest IQ holder is Young Hoon Kim. You could subscribe to him here on YouTube. All right, let's show you some stuff on this motorcycle. Watch it. I'm not even going full speed. This thing is just amazing. All right, so here's the biggest problems for atheism. Number one, the atheists say they lack a belief. Atheists, when you stand before God, that "I lack a belief" thing is not going to work. I mean, in debate, the atheist would tell me they lack a belief. "I lack a belief" is not even an argument against God's existence. You fail, atheist. You fail. In debate, I challenged my atheist opponent. I said, "I am going to give more evidence for the existence of God than you, Mr. Atheist, can give evidence for your atheism." You see, I used to be an atheist, and the secret Achilles heel of atheism is it's not based on evidence at all. Therefore, evidence is lacking for atheism, and atheism is unprovable. Very stupid to be an atheist. So yes, I always defeated the atheists. You could see me in debate, very humbly speaking, because I had more evidence for God than they had for atheism. It can never be denied that the evidence for God supersedes the evidence for atheism. We talked about the highest IQ holder, Young Hoon Kim. Subscribe to him. He's a Christian. He agrees with me that atheism is madness. Right now, I'm doing a series on the errors and mistakes of the Atheist Experience Show here on YouTube. So, if you want to see something shocking, I'm going to tell you about a video where the atheist defends Satan, because that's the guy on their side. The Atheist Experience Show defends Satan. It's so funny. Why they attack God. Can you be any more obvious whose side you're on? So, go ahead and type this in YouTube and you'll see videos of the Atheist Experience Show defending Satan. And you'll see videos, I'm going to tell you what to type in, of Forrest with the Atheist Experience Show being caught in a lie. I pointed out right on video. I point out how, let me tell you what to type in. Type in Very simple. Type in "The Atheist Experience Show is a scam." And you will see so many videos of them lying, giving false information. They're either lying or they're ignorant of the facts. And they're the same show that cowered to my challenge. Go contact them and ask them. They'll admit that they cowered to my challenge. Just answer my question. I've been asking for 19 years, what proof and evidence do you have that would finally at last prove that atheism is accurate and correct? And they have nothing. I also showed that they're a scam. The Atheist Experience Show is a total scam in that they portray themselves as intellectuals, but they're anti-intellectuals. I call them anti-lectuals. I'll go through some videos where I point out their scam. So, Matt Dillahunty failed. I'm going to put the link below. I'll put the links of all the scam videos below this video, and I'll put the link below where it shows that Matt Dillahunty failed my challenge. It says "Shock of God," Matt Dillahunty, and it says Matt Dillahunty failed to answer Shock of God's challenge. You'll see it right there below. But let's go through some mistakes that the Atheist Experience Show makes. Justin with the Atheist Experience Show denies modern cosmology and science. Everyone knows that the universe had a beginning. Everyone knows this. We're not in the year 1910. We're not in that year, Justin. But Justin says the universe is eternal. Yet you can go to the very atheistic site Wikipedia, and they agree with what I said and what all modern science says, that the universe had a beginning. So, Justin's a scam. Forrest is a scam. You'll see I caught him in a lie, and I have it on video. Just look below and the link, or if you don't feel like clicking the link, just type in YouTube. Type in "The Atheist Experience Show is a scam." So many lies and scams that they've done. I've got a whole collection of them. So we covered in this video, when they say they lack a belief, that's not going to work on the day of judgment, because you see, the atheist isn't going to judge themselves. God's going to judge them. And God says that they do indeed know God exists, and therefore they're culpable, which means the excuse "you lack a belief" is not going to fly on Judgment Day. I'm going to be there on Judgment Day with Matt Dillahunty, Forrest, Godless Engineer, that one guy that looks like the Hamburglar from McDonald's, Justin, and I'm going to turn to them and say, "You guys, I told you, God's not going to go by what you guys are saying for a standard of judgment. God's going to use his own standard of judgment." Let's end the video with this. I just saw a video which illustrates what I want to say about the stupid, foolish Atheist Experience Show. This is an actual video you can see on YouTube. This atheist had assaulted police officers, spit in their face, tried to stab one, and he was laughing and smirking in the courthouse when he's standing in front of the judge. And the judge started saying, $1 million bail, $250,000 on this count, $300,000 on this count, and the smile of the atheist started to go away. And you see him just being crushed as this judge is saying his bail is so high that he's not getting out of prison. And, you know, when I was watching this video, I'm like watching this atheist in front of the judge, and you're thinking to yourself, is the atheist just stupid? He didn't know that this was going to happen? Everyone told him. Is he just stupid? And this is what I'm going to say to the atheist when we're all there bowing our knee to Jesus Christ. I'm going to look to the left and look to the right because every knee will bow. And I'm going to say, Matt Dillahunty, were you just stupid? Justin, were you just stupid? Forrest, were you just stupid? Hamburglar, Godless Engineer also. Seth, were you guys just stupid? And all the Christians in unison are going to say to the atheist, well, we told you so.